This, I believe, is a hard assignment, to speak one's own truth, to attend and investigate the largest questions that life has to offer about God and the sacred, justice and beauty, hope and grief and possibility, to gather one's journey into something that can be spoken with integrity and enough clarity for others to understand in 10 minutes or less. This, I believe, is a beautiful gift to those gathered, and in the end, after wrestling with the words and the what and the who and the how and the when to share this journey, I believe it's also a blessing to those who say yes to the invitation. And all we ask of them, other than sharing their deepest beliefs and identities with whoever may show up on a Sunday morning, we ask them most importantly for this, in these words from Rebecca Edmonston Lang, to come into this place which we make holy by our presence, to come in with all their vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes, for here they need not hide nor pretend, nor be anything other than who they are and who they are called to be. Here we bear each other's burdens, we strengthen each other in the work of justice and a world transformed by love, and we say, come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, and the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. So throughout the year, we hold classes for newcomers to learn about our church and the history of our tradition, to find ways to get involved and meet others who are considering becoming members. And today we get to welcome some of those who have recently decided to join our church. So I invite those who are here now to come on forward, who are going to join. You can stand over here, find a comfy spot. When we welcome new members, it's a seemingly simple act of putting pen to paper and signing a name, but something more powerful happens. It's a commitment of hearts to hearts. It's of joining a community and reconsecrating our shared commitment as a church to who we are and what values we are called to. It's naming and honoring these new souls among us in the larger family of all souls. Know that this church, we hope, is a home for your soul, that these are your people, that this is your home.
This morning we welcome Darren Podolsky-Smith, Sarah and Matt Maurer, and Alex Mayer, and they will all share some words with you this morning. Alex.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Alex Mayer, and I was raised Catholic, which is a nice way of saying I'm not anymore. All I know is that life is a gift, and I want myself and others to experience it fully. Knowledge, acceptance, and community are my passions, and I am joining as a promise to continue to live those values.
I'm Darren Podolsky-Smith, and I've been coming around here about 6 years. My wife, Laurel, grew up right over here. Let's see, I think what I was going to say. I've been coming around here a lot. You even let me start a Zen group on Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock, if you're interested. We sit meditation upstairs in the Thoreau room. This is a wonderful community. I mean, people who are supporting each other in social justice and equity and compassion. The Buddha said that the support of people of integrity is the whole of the spiritual life. And I think that's what we have here.
So I'm Sarah and Matt. From the time that Maya and I first randomly showed up for a Sunday service last May or June until now, we have felt so welcomed, comfortable, and supported in the UU community. The church has provided us with so much already: timely sermons that keep us centered, religious education for our daughters, and daycare for sweet Theo. We have already made true connections with others in the community, and this has been very rewarding. The values of the UU align with how we look at life. We truly value acceptance, connection, and love, and we have been provided this through this church and under Luke's amazing guidance. We want to become members to demonstrate our commitment to this church so it can continue to provide all of the wonderful things it does.
So I invite you, congregation, to turn to the litany that's in your order of service as we welcome these folks into this house of all souls. We welcome you into this congregation and into the larger circle of Unitarian Universalism. We welcome your story, your identity, and the gifts that you bring. May you find here a home for your soul.
We gladly join with you as members of this church. We will offer our gifts as we are able to the flourishing and well-being of this community and support the values of this congregation: hospitality, compassion, spiritual growth, and justice.
We covenant to travel together in this religious community. Here may we be affirmed for who we are and challenged to be our best selves. Here may we grow our souls, care for each other and the earth, nurture spiritual growth, practice justice, and together lead lives of meaning, service, and love. So as we welcome them into our community and they sign this membership book, I want you to be mindful of all the names that come before you. 150 years of names, including many of those in this room today and many who are long in sacred memory here. And to also be mindful of all the lines to come, the blank lines of those who are yet to come and find this place. We hope to keep it always open to more justice, more love, more souls who need this church and who need each other. We're going to sing together as they sign the membership book, hymn number 1, verses number 1, 2, and 4. I invite you to remain seated as we sing together.
I am not a Unitarian. I have never been a Unitarian, and I never will be a Unitarian. I'm a Universalist, and this is my church, the Unitarian Universalist Church. I am a part of the last generation who were born in one of these two formerly independent denominations. For so many, the distinction between a Unitarian and a Universalist or a Unitarian Universalist is negligible. For many, it is simply a matter of history now. I feel compelled to honor my family's history by reminding people to please refrain from calling us Unitarians. This Rochester congregation was formerly a Universalist congregation, and we have a fascinating history. We still have dishes in the kitchen which are marked with the words Universalist Church. I have often said that these dishes are one of my favorite parts of this church. The remains of my dear parents are in our memorial garden. My mother claimed to be a fourth-generation Universalist, and my father became a well-known Universalist minister after leaving the Congregational Church while he was in his teens. In his early ministry, he was part of a group of young rebels who were trying to reinvigorate and revitalize the Universalist Church and the Universalist faith. They were called the Humiliati. Ultimately, the church leadership ensured survival of the Universalist Church by joining forces with the Unitarians. The merger of the denominations was in 1961 when I was 6 years old. And that merger was really focused more on church governance than it was on faith definition. So here I am, a birthright Universalist, a very small minority in our UU churches. My religious education happened in a former Universalist congregation in Akron, Ohio. At that time, UUs were working hard to figure out who we were and what we believed as one church. I remember several curricula used in my Sunday school. One was called Kung of the Kalahari, which actually was written by one of deceased members of our congregation, Walter Bateman. And I remember Walter well. He was a fine man. Another year, we followed the curriculum called The Church Across the Street. So we got to visit all the other congregations and learn about them and their beliefs, and that was really quite interesting as well. So another curriculum that many of us have gone through is called Building Your Own Theology. So building your own theology is what I believe everyone does, not just UUs, but everyone. We all build our own theology. We pick and choose from the virtual menu of beliefs. I imagine there are as many theologies here in this church as there are people here in this church. We are all just trying to figure it out. Mystery, mystery, life is a puzzle and a mystery. Like everyone else, my religious journey has taken a few twists and turns. I attended theological school for a year. I tried the Friends Quaker meeting for a while. There actually was a group I connected with there called the Quaker Universalists. After leaving theological school, I found a different vocation, which allows me to minister in a different way. I'm a child life specialist, and currently I use my education in child development and in education to assist children and families who are receiving proton beam therapy for solid tumors. Over my 30-plus year career in child life, issues around life and death have been ever present. Reverend Forrest Church said, "I have long believed that religion itself is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and knowing and having to die. We humans are the religious species because of our own awareness of the limits of human life." So that's all background for this I believe statement. I believe in the oneness of the universe. All existence is unitary and therefore universal. Everything is connected. We are all connected. I am alive and conscious as you are. The best we can do is to support one another with all of the kindness we can muster. The Dalai Lama said that he believes that his religion is kindness. I like that statement. I like to think that my religion is kindness as well. Unfortunately, there are times when my actions fall short of that ideal, but I hold on to the goal and I work to perfect my life in that direction. To be human is to be imperfect. We are all fallible, and that requires each of us, with all the kindness we can muster, to be forgiving. My spiritual practice is meditation. Currently, I meditate 20 minutes each workday before starting my work schedule. On Saturdays, my spiritual practice is running, And on Sunday, my spiritual practice is coming to church. But meditation. Meditation is a practice that I started when I attended classes for mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and I am deeply indebted to my wife for inviting me to take that class with her. I am indebted to Roberto Benzo, who taught the class, and I am indebted to Roberto's teacher, John Kabat-Zinn, who wrote the book Full Catastrophe Living, upon which the class is based. When I meditate, I divide my 20 minutes of meditation into 4 5-minute blocks. The first 5-minute block is devoted to being in what I call the being mode. Breathing in, breathing out, nothing more. Guiding random thoughts back to the here and now with all of the kindness that I can muster. Just be here now. In the second 5 minutes, I focus on the 7 attitudes required for mindfulness. They are, number 1, non-judging, and may that non-judging begin with myself. 2, patience, and may that patience begin with myself. 3, having a beginner's mind regarding life with awe and wonder and curiosity. And 4, trust. May that trust begin with myself. May I trust myself that I will know the right thing, do the right thing, say the right thing at the right time in the right audience. And trusting that I will know trustworthiness in others. Number 5, non-striving. There are no goals in mindfulness meditation. 6, acceptance of what is without judgment. I struggle with that in these political times. 7, letting go of the thoughts and feelings which cause suffering. Harmful thoughts like hate, jealousy, envy, fear, anger, for example. In my third 5 minutes is a meditation on loving kindness. May I and everyone in the world be safe and protected from harm, from without and from within. May I and everyone in the world be happy and contented. May I and everyone in the world be healthy and whole. May I and everyone else in the world be at peace and experience well-being. The fourth 5-minute block is a compassion meditation called Tonglen. When I breathe in pain, sorrow, fear. When I breathe out peace, love, hope, and space for healing. This is the attitude I want to bring to my everyday, giving out to the world love, peace, hope, and space for healing. My other spiritual practice, running, I could talk a long time about that, but I'm not going to. You should say thank you. And my third spiritual practice, as I mentioned, is coming to church. This is my home. This is my life. You are my people, and I love you all. Thank you.
I'm humbled to be here before you today talking about my spiritual journey. As I have traveled along, I have experienced at times enlightenment, wonder, and deep connection with the larger whole. I'd like to tell you about when I first participated in a drum circle. We created a spiritual circle and we made it holy with the elements that are essential for life. We lit candles to bring in the fire. There was water and rocks to connect us to the earth, and sage to purify us and sweeten the air. We called on the wisdom of the 4 directions, and we closed the circle, and the drums started to beat like the beat of a heart. And they grew in intensity as we connected with one another's energy, and we danced with wild abandon. And during the circle, I felt a healing energy, healing of the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. I felt connected to the other women participating in the circle, and I felt a deep connection to the larger universe. It is impossible for me to articulate all of the stops along my zigzagging journey as a spiritual being, and the reason this is so difficult is that I really don't have it figured out. And I suspect anyone who says that they do, or any institution who says that they do. I was raised Lutheran with a Lutheran mom and a Baptist dad. I learned from my mother the value of religion to provide comfort and support in difficult times, as well as the value of religion to provide direction for living a good life. I learned from my father that it's okay to have different beliefs from your family. This is also reflected in my own household, where I'm a Vikings fan and Angie's a Packers fan, and somehow we peacefully coexist, even on game day. My father's grandparents emigrated from Sweden as Baptists, wanting to escape the state religion. This taught me that no one should impose religion on another. I also learned from my confirmation about the Reformation, and not only is it okay, but it is spiritually required to question one's religious institutions. When I was little, my dad would read to me before bed, oftentimes the children's Bible that was given to me by my godparents. And there was one night, I had to have been about 4 years old, and we were getting ready for my sister's baptism the next day. My brother was a year older than my sister, and I asked my dad, I said, I don't really remember his baptism. And my dad said, well, he was baptized, but he was baptized in the hospital because when he was born, we didn't know if he'd make it, and we wanted to make sure he got to heaven. What? Well, what if something would have happened to Kristen before today? Would she not go to heaven? Would she go to hell? And how old were you when you were baptized? My dad was 13. I thought that was kind of old if it meant going to hell, if you didn't have it done. And he described to me his Baptist tradition and how in the Baptist tradition you choose to be baptized. It's not done for you. And as I pondered these ideas of who was saved and who wasn't saved, I have to say right then and there, as a 4-year-old, I embraced universal salvation. I often speak of my church to my family, and I think it's confusing for them. On more than one occasion, they have asked me, is your church a Christian church? And my response is always, well, we take inspiration from all the religions of the world. Well, that pretty much shuts down that conversation, and that's okay with me. What I think they're really asking me is, am I a Christian? Do I take Jesus Christ to be my personal Lord and Savior? Well, for me, that's kind of incomplete. Even by Christian standards, what about the Holy Trinity? I'm pretty sure the Hebrew Scriptures taught us that God was around before Jesus came around. But I do believe the stories about Jesus, especially his actions, have much to teach us about what it is to be holy. But I also think there's a whole lot of other stories, those told even more recently than those 2,000 years ago, that can help us to understand the divine. When I came out as a lesbian, I had religion used against me in very personal ways that I never anticipated. He's left deep scars. And this was so antithetical to my understanding of the divine. But these experiences reinforced my belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and especially that worth and dignity is not to be decided by the dominant culture. I believe that humans are beautifully flawed, capable of love, compassion, and beauty, and yet with the capacity to cause great harm and destruction. I look at nature. It is both kind and cruel. My beautiful, loving cat who comes up and cuddles with me and purrs deeply is also an extremely skilled predator and very lethal to the smaller creatures around her. I see miracle in the birth and in death, both part of the same condition of life. Life made up of the wondrous and the amazing and the beautiful, as well as the terrifying and horrible and all the things in between. How do I make sense of this? I have found that spiritual grounding helps me to find balance and seek a connection with that which is greater than myself, to be able to embrace the mystery and wonder of this universe. I strongly believe that what you put out there comes back to you. Some people call this karma. And because of this, I believe that I have a personal responsibility to make this world a better place. That leads me to a life of service and my desire for social justice. But it's hard. It's really hard. There is so much need out there, so many places where I can direct my energy, and it becomes overwhelming. And I fall short all the time of living up to my ideals. But I have also been gifted with grace and forgiveness. I feel deeply connected to you, my beloved congregation. You lift me up. You teach me. You inspire me. You encourage me. And most importantly, you let me just be. I love the beauty and mystery of ritual. I feel it helps me to get outside myself and to connect with the greater mystery. At home, I have an altar. It's not really an altar for any specific deity or deities, but rather it contains small items that have spiritual significance to me. It includes rocks and sea glass that I have gathered in my travels, and there's even one rock that's painted with the word someday that I got from a Unitarian Universalist table, this church, at Pride Fest. This was before marriage equality. It happened. Thank you. There's also a number of candles that are in votives from Sweden. They're known for their crystal. And there's also other Swedish mementos. A bone fork that my great-grandfather's brother brought with him from Sweden when they emigrated. I find these help me to connect to my ancestors. I also have tomtons and gnomes, those mythical Scandinavian creatures that are both mischievous and benevolent. I have a statue of St. Francis. It was a gift from a special friend, and it connects us to Angie's high school years at a Franciscan convent. When I think of St. Francis, I think of the blessing of the animals, and I feel a connection to nature. I also think he's a pretty interesting historical figure. I have my grandmother's owls and musical instruments and other random things that connect me with my history, the natural world, and help me to tap into the interconnectedness of all things. Blessed be.
Invite you, as you're comfortable, to join a hand next to you or place your hand over your heart and breathe deep the breath of life. We hope here to make a house, a home for all souls, a place for all of our humanity, beautiful and beautifully flawed, to flourish, to find forgiveness, to muster as much kindness as we can. May this be a home for your soul. May these be your people, and may you know that sometimes all you need is love. Amen.